Welcome here to Wellness Upside Down, the podcast that turns the health and wellness industry upside down so you can live your best life inside and out. I'm Dr. Neal Smoller with my co-host, Mark DeCicco of RTD Fitness. Hi, Mark. How's it going, bro?
What's going on, Neal? That song bumps.
Yeah.
That song is fire.
I don't think we haven't talked about this yet.
We have not.
I think that we really upgraded from the last song that we had. We had a rock song, which was very, like White Stripes-ish, right? I think the funk beat is more my style, I think.
It's more our style.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how we roll. We're more R&B than we are. So, I mean, we're soft rock too, but we definitely have an R&B feel.
Visit wellnessupsidedown.com for all things of this podcast, or to get in touch with us. Please subscribe and share with all of your friends. Today's episode is calories, aka the most depressing show that we're going to do for so many people. It's depressing because we're going to try to keep it real here and have some honest conversations about calories. I want to give you guys practical advice, a few pearls of wisdom here. The reason that we're doing this now and we're doing it like this is because it's coming up a bunch in consults that I'm doing in store. And, when we have conversations, people, we're really far off from where we need to be with our understanding of calories. The other thing is the conversations around calories are bang your head against the wall frustrating. If you look online about calories, it's either you need a PhD to understand the formulas that they're using, or it's just that generic nonsense. So my struggle here and my goal here, I guess, is to make a conversation about calories that actually helps, right? And Mark, it's really interesting because I want to hear about your calorie journey.
Sure.
I hate using that.
I know. But
When we talk about, calories and such, the first thing that I think about is somebody that went through gastric bypass and has to radically change their calories, right?
Yeah.
And so once we get to it, I think, you're going to have a lot of really great insight for people probably on this. So,
and you've ingested enough calories in Europe to feed a small army. So your calorie knowledge is very, very strong right now.
I know so much about calories because I've had them.
They're in your body.
Yeah.
So that's why you know about them.
And then I have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So here's what we'll do. So we're going to go through some stuff and you'll hear a reference to something that I wrote a while back called Dietary Jenga. I'm going to mention it in a little bit, but that's a really great article. I think it's one of the you do something and you're like, oh, wow, my brain came up with that. That really works. But essentially, it's a structure for nutritional conversations. And we'll leave it at that. We'll tease at that. But you can go to drneal.co and you can check out the Dietary Jenga article. That's a really great one. So first and foremost, the thing that you should know about calories is that they really shouldn't be part of early conversations when you're trying to get healthy. If you remember in early episodes, we were talking about 1, 2, 3 vitality, my system for actually making things stick, change that actually lasts, right? In phase 1, we're talking about conquering the chaos. So if we start out having conversations about, oh, you need to eat healthier, and then I start throwing all these numbers at you, and then you need a slide rule to get through your day, and then you're beating yourself up because, oh, that stick of celery actually had, 12 extra calories, and I don't know what to, it doesn't help. Really early conversations around nutrition and fitness and being healthy have to start with bigger picture conversations and habit building versus goals and metrics and numbers, right? And so this is, a good place for us to kind of dive into the concept of dietary Jenga. Mark, you've played Jenga before, right?
I'm familiar with the game. Yep.
Mm-hmm. We've played with the big blocks. So when they fall, it really hurts. Don't play that with kids under 5, even though it looks fun for them.
Seems fun.
But the concept of Jenga is the game is you pull blocks from the bottom and you put them on the top. And then what ends up happening when you're playing Jenga, the foundation of the building gets wobbly and it falls over. And so what I've noticed is most of our conscious conversations around nutrition ends up being a Jenga game. We take stuff from the foundation, the most important stuff, and we pull it out and we don't feel like we need it. And instead, we end up worrying about the top of the building, the stuff that is really kind of just there for decoration. Meaning, instead of worrying about how many calories I'm consuming or the fact that I'm eating healthier quality foods, we're talking about, well, I have to be GMO free and it has to be organic and all of this stuff that, as we said before, before, the nerds are talking about. The people that are geeking out about nutrition, they're the ones that care about those kind of top blocks. All the rest of us should be caring about the things on the bottom of this, on the bottom of the Jenga tower. And so that's one of the most important things is like calories. When we start having this conversation, don't make it part of day one nutrition change.
And what I love about this too is the idea that everybody who wants to make change, and we're talking about this 1, 2, 3 vitality stuff as part of this sort of framework for change, right? When people want to make changes, they want to change immediately. And so people will come to you and say, hey, Neal, what should I eat? What supplements should I take? I want to get healthy today, this moment. And so if you were to say to them, well, how many calories are you taking? And they're saying 700,000 calories in a day, that's problematic. But they don't even know how many calories they're taking in. We talked about this from an inventory standpoint. Like people don't know what they're showing up with. So like I'm working with somebody right now who is way under her calories. And I'm not a nutritionist, but I know she's not getting the nutrients she needs. Right. And so she's hyper focused on not putting too many calories into her body. And that is the absolute wrong approach. Right. Not just for weight loss, but from a health standpoint. You cannot base your life around calories, and we're going to go there. But that's the struggle is we want to support people in this, but we also want to give them the right information. And so this calorie thing is tied heavily to weight loss. It's tied heavily to health and wellness in ways that we're really going to try to untangle here today.
Right. All perfectly said, Mark. You're so eloquent and beautiful as
true.
A man.
That's all true.
The other thing that's really interesting and why I keep it out of this early piece is because the calorie stuff, there's 3,500 calories in a pound. If you cut by 500 calories a day, you'll lose a pound a week, right? Like 7 days. That's a rule of thumb. That's not real. Like,
it's not how your body, it's not your body.
Right.
That's the average body. What's that?
It changes over time. So like the numbers that we get hyper fixated on these things and they're not even real. And if I then said to you, who's fixated on calories and concerned about calories, well, technically, and then I go through, how your metabolic rate is influencing it and how it changes over time and how it's not a real, like your head would explode. How do you make things happen and stick for you in your wellness game if you're fixated on things that are just like it's just too much. It's not something that pays off early. So
and along those lines, so this habit building thing is so important. It's what's changed everything for me is building habits out. And so I'm a huge building habits first guy. And so for me, timing of meals, combining of foods, all of that, super important. If I just said to you, have this number of calories in a day, none of that takes into account matching of nutrients with each other so that you get the maximum benefit out of those nutrients. Because some nutrients, if you have them with another nutrient, actually stops that nutrient from being absorbed. And you know that. So some of this stuff is I time my meals. I drink water in between. There's all of these pieces that if I just said to you, have 1,200 calories or have 2,000 calories, you're missing the boat.
Yeah. I think just if you're getting started with your wellness plan, calories are a later part of the conversation. Yep. So that should be a red flag if you're starting a conversation and calories are a big part of it. It's okay to, be aware of it, know what the limits are, what too little, what too much are, and know that they're a part of the conversation, but it's not necessary to get started. And I think calories have always, since it kind of came into like, the modern cultural conversation have been too much of a focus all around. So moving to the second point that I'd like to make, calories are the answer for energy and for weight management, but not nutrition. So this is the stuff that you were just hinting at. I wrote an article. Oreos work, right? So
they're effective. They're fuel.
Yeah. If you want to lose weight, you can eat 1,500 calories of Oreos in a day and you'll lose weight. It just doesn't mean that you're going to be healthy. And again, that's why it's important for us to kind of remove calories for the conversation. So what I'd like to do is talk about where would you find your calorie goals, just in case you're curious of what they are, what's realistic and what's unhealthy. And, just the idea, from a bigger perspective here, that it took you a long time to get the weight that you were, Mark, right? It takes me a long time, a lot of effort through Europe to eat lots and lots of
you worked hard.
Pasta and Nutella and all of that stuff. It took effort. I should not expect 3 days of being home to be back at the weight that I was before after working so hard diligently to gain that weight. So,
and the other piece of this too, for me, is the quality of the nutrients and the quality of the calories. So if I ate 1,500 calories worth of Oreos, I would have like the gastric nightmare scenario. So I don't even want to get into, we talked about dumping syndrome in another episode, but the mess that would create, I don't want to even start. But the second piece of that is, I notice, and this weekend I took my wife to away for the weekend. We had nice meals, and I wasn't worried about my meal planning or any of that stuff. And it's hard when I'm off site and I'm out in the world, because I have to really pay attention when I'm out in the world, because I don't have the same amount of control over my food that I would when I'm home. I ate like garbage stuff all weekend. I feel physically right now depressed, sad, angry. I just want to throw stuff. I'm irritable. That is directly related to my diet. It's directly related to what I just ate. I know that if I put water in my system, I put protein in my system, I put all these macronutrients in that my body needs, that I'm getting used to this new body, right? Because every stage in this, I've had to eat differently. So that's the other thing I'll talk about, is every stage in this, I've had to look at where my body is and then eat for the body that I have. And that's all of us. Right. That's everybody. So you have, a lot of this is trial and error. An error would be me trying to eat 500 Oreos and seeing what that would do. I'm pretty well aware of what it would do, but
it just makes you feel like crap. I mean,
it makes me feel terrible. And that's important to say here. Like, part of this is just like, not even weight loss, just like, do you want to feel terrible? Because when I eat sugar like that, I feel, in the moment, I feel great.
Right.
But afterwards, not just the shame and guilt of having eaten it, but I just feel physically awful, like mental health wise. I don't feel good.
Calories are the answer for energy and weight management, but not nutrition. And that's important. If Mark wanted to lose weight before his surgery, he was required to reduce the calories he was eating in order for the pounds to come off. We have general rules of thumb on what to do. And in fact, there are great calculators. In fact, I think it's calculator.net/calorie, I believe is the URL. We'll link it in the show notes. But calculator.net has these great calculators that use modern formulas for metabolic rate and all of this stuff to come up with a plan for how many calories you should have once you're ready for that part of the conversation. And, you know, we're talking about weight loss, so you would have to run a calorie deficit for that to happen. Very simple stuff. If the example of Oreos, if you can eat garbage, and as long as the calories are under your goal, you're going to lose weight. Just the opposite. If you need to gain weight, which is something that this is what brought this conversation on. It wasn't weight loss. It was more weight gain. I have lots of senior citizen patients that their nutrition goes to garbage and they're rail thin, and then they don't want to eat anymore. And so now they have to gain weight, and they're thinking just like you and I want to lose weight overnight. They want to gain weight overnight. And so, you know, how we use calories to both lose and gain weight is slowly. Realistic goals have to be set, and we will improve the calories. But if with a choice of the food that we have, the habits that we have are poor, then we will feel like garbage. It's really funny because, like, just as an aside, you know, cleanses, it's something that I've always kind of taken, objection to. I don't agree with cleanse protocols and cleanse products. I think that there are a lot of parlor tricks and there's a lot of nonsense, and a lot of people, but at the same time, I also understand the value of them, because people are people, and we need psychological resets sometimes. We need to be able to say, I'm doing this thing that's dramatic so I can get my life in order. Right?
Go to the other side, which I get it for that and that alone.
Totally. But, and people will report that they feel better, but they've gone from their crappy diets to eating either just fruits or, just lots of water and then no more sugar. And just that slight change of increasing your fluids, reducing your calories, and getting rid of simple sugars is what makes people feel better. That's what matters more than any of that other stuff. I think that it's very important to understand that. Mark had touched on a couple things that are higher level, earlier conversations in nutrition way before calories. and I just touched on it with the idea of energy. Calories are the answer for energy. People come to me and they say, I need something, I need a supplement for energy. Or another one is like, I am getting fuzzy, foggy thinking. I'm having memory problems. Everybody is rightfully fearful of dementia and resulting Alzheimer's related dementia. That's a big boogeyman right now, and everybody's scared of it. And the simple answer is normally those things that you're talking about, energy levels, concentration, focus, and like those like little memory things, is your body telling you that you're not getting the right calories at the right time. And so when we build habits where we're eating the right types of nutrients frequently throughout the day, timed based on how we handle food, we will maintain our energy levels. And, it's really funny. Like, I want more energy, and they go for a vitamin. Well, you don't get energy from vitamins. You get it from calories. You get that from the macronutrients is where you get it from.
And I'm a big macronutrient guy.
Yeah.
Love macronutrients. And I'm also of the mindset, in the same exact way that I can get my energy from food and water, because the water really helps with my energy levels too. Movement, physical movement, working my body weight stuff. It seems like I should be worn out afterwards, but the way that I do my exercises, the way that I work my yoga into my life, I feel energized. I feel pumped. I have worked on my breathing. It's connected to my body. That stuff, on top of the nutrition, on top of the timing, is how you build energy. It seems counterintuitive that I have to expend energy to get energy, but it is absolutely true. On the short end, obviously, right afterwards, I'm a little tired. I'm worn out.
Right.
But long term, I get those energy gains throughout the day. And so when people say to me that they're having low energy, part of that is going to obviously be this nutrition stuff we're talking about. If you're eating garbage, you're not going to have energy. That's true.
Yep.
The physical movement piece, Neal, is a huge part of that. And you know that because you had to gun yourself around Europe.
Oh, geez. I can't wait till we talk about that on the off the record thing. It was ridiculous. Definitely check that out if you haven't already subscribed to our off the record conversations.
They're on the off the record. They know.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we understand that from a calories perspective, it is something that you will need to know if you plan on losing weight. There are healthy ways to do that. Realistically, you don't want to lose more than 1 or 2 pounds a week. So the idea that, you're 10 pounds overweight and you're going to lose 5 pounds the first week, and then you're going to feel great, and then you can slow down after that. It kind of speaks to a bigger problem when it comes to this stuff. And that's the conversation that I'm normally having with people, is that this has less to do with the calories that everybody else is making very important, and more to do with your relationship to food.
Big time.
And, some people will overeat to deal with stress, usually with M&Ms or booze. I don't know those kinds of people, but I've heard of them. And so, we may use food in a way, and we might have a very unhealthy relationship with food. We're too busy. We need comfort foods to help us manage our emotions. And so we have this very unhealthy relationship with food. And so
the other piece too is a reward. It's a reward system. So I use food as a reward with myself, with my daughter. I take her for treats. It's a real thing that's built in our society. And so it's easy to say, oh, well, your relationship with food, and think of it in a negative way.
Yeah.
It's a very positive part of my life too. Everything I've done ever has a food component to it. You go to a celebration, you go to a ball game, food's everywhere.
Yeah. We, in order to get Mark to do the podcast, we actually put a biscuit on his nose.
There's biscuits.
Yeah. That's just like a little puppy.
It's
He's
delicious.
Like a little pugsley. The thought that I'm having here around this relationship with food conversation is that calorie discussions in everyone's minds, that building out these plans is a temporary thing. And that's another piece to it. Like the idea that this is my third point, we forget that we still have to eat. We still have to kind of keep moving. We have to constantly be nourishing ourselves and supporting ourselves throughout the day, that we can't have these quick losses. And there's going to come a point where you're not going to have the stamina to do this anymore. And you're going to use like getting off of your new calorie restriction as a reward system.
Absolutely.
And so it's, that's telling to me about what the real problem is and how we can really help with your nutrition.
And so what I'm going to say is going to make people very angry, but I'm going to say it anyway, because that's what we do here. Cheat days are a terrible idea. They're awful. And I don't want to say that to people who want to give themselves a break or want to have, or they're working on their relationship with food. I have a cheat day, do whatever you want. But I'm here to say, for me, changing my relationship with food meant that I couldn't live like that. So I can't say, hey, let me go have a couple of donuts here and there, because that's not how I eat donuts. I eat 5,000 of them and then my belly explodes and I want to vomit everywhere. That's how my relationship with food has had to change. And so for me, when people say, oh, I've been really good this week. That's how people talk about eating. I've been so good this week. I've really earned whatever the thing is. Anytime someone starts talking like that as a framework, I'm concerned, because that's the thinking that keeps you stuck. And so it doesn't move you forward in this stages of change that Neal's describing from that 1, 2, 3 vitality.
So here's the big question that I get all the time. It's like, what supplement should I take? And it's either what supplement should I take to help with some health concern, like my gut or for sleep or for my joints, and not the weed joint, Woodstock, like the actual joints in your body.
Yep.
Or what supplement should I take to be the healthiest that I can be? And my answer is always the Vital 5. That's where we start when we talk about supplements. The 5 nutrients that almost everyone would benefit from.
Snap, crackle, pop. No.
And Mitch, remember that Mitch? Yeah, so these supplements are considered vital because we don't get enough from our food, even if we have awesome diets. They benefit multiple body systems, and they have some of the largest bodies of research when it comes to supplements. Those Vital 5 are omega-3, probiotics, bone support supplements, protein, and specifically collagen. I'm on a real big collagen kick lately.
My protein game is huge.
It's on point. I'm glad to hear that.
Huge.
And multivitamins. That's the 5, right? So some people may already be on one or more of these things, but oftentimes they're not the right dose or the form. You know, they take their fish oil, but they're getting 1/10 the dose and spending $20, and they're just not doing anything, right? So I ask people, how does your supplement stack up? Get a no-spin, 1-to-1 supplement evaluation with the holistic pharmacist, me, Dr. Neal Smoller, and in just 15 minutes, we'll create an easy-to-follow, science-backed supplement strategy that works for you. It's simple. You show us what you got. We evaluate those Vital 5 supplements against a strict set of evidence-based standards, and then you get your personalized Vital 5 checkup. Learn about my Vital 5 or schedule yourself a Vital 5 checkup at drneal.co/Vital 5. drneal.co/Vital 5. drneal.co/Vital 5. VITALFIVE. Get 50% off with the coupon code podcast at drneal.co/Vital 5. So, this idea that, we tie directly calories and weight together. And I really have a problem with, people prescribing that and having these conversations before the habits are built, because it seems temporary.
It is.
I feel like people, they're not trying to set themselves up for lifetime health and wellness or nutrition. They're really just trying to manage weight without making an impact on their actual health. And, I am going to cut my calories until I hit this number, and then I can go back to normal, and then I can relax even saying that.
And it's the context. So if I just stop eating these calories at a certain level, that'll work until it doesn't. And then your body gets used to whatever you're doing. Right. So if you decide you're going to go down to 2,000 calories, I can promise you, because I've done it. I've lost 100 pounds twice. I've lost 200 pounds just this one time so far. But I can tell you absolutely from my personal experience and just science, your body will adjust to whatever it is you want to put in it. If you get to 2,000 calories a day and that's what you're doing, your body can gain weight at 2,000 calories if you're eating garbage and you're not meeting your nutritional needs. So we haven't gotten into nutrients yet, but just to say, you could think, oh, I'm going to cut these calories down, and like Neal said, I'm going to lose weight. That's not necessarily even true. Right. And it's temporary because you haven't made the decision to actually change the behavior. All you're doing is shooting for a number. And when people say I'm shooting for this number every day and I hit my number, it's concerning to me, whether it's steps, whether it's calories, right? there's a like contest component to it, and not a I'm incorporating this into my daily lifestyle piece. And I guess that's what we're trying to really say here. Like, you could do this and see like an impact, but if you want that lasting change that everybody wants, you're not going to get it by just doing these quick Band-Aid fixes, or me telling you have 2,000 calories. It'll solve your life. That's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work.
It's too much, and it's fries your brain just thinking about it. So when we have these conversations with people about their nutrition, you know, and we're talking about the 1, 2, 3 vitality, conquering the chaos, we say we're not talking about calories. You can keep eating the horrible calories that you're eating. I want you to perhaps stop eating gas station sushi. That might help. You know, so we talk a little bit about quality, but really what I say is, all right, so you eat oatmeal for breakfast. Okay, so oatmeal for breakfast is a bad idea because it's only one macronutrient. Let's try to incorporate a little bit of protein and a little bit of fat into that. And we kind of have that conversation. Oh, and then the next time you eat is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's try to get a snack in there. And
sneak something in between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Right. And so once you do that, you look at the people will look at it and say, that's more food than I'm eating now. And exactly, that's what I want. I'm okay with you having a week of extra calories. And you know, we can even help you kind of pare this down, or even maintaining the current excess calories that you're taking in, as long as you're structuring your day in a manner that will provide nutrition and lasting change. You want a new mentality around your food. You don't want to get focused on the calories. And it's okay. This took a long time to get to this place, and it's going to take a long time to get you out of this place. And we want you to get out and stay out.
And the exciting thing is if you build these habits out, and you have a strategy, and you've talked a lot about supplement strategy. You talked a lot about being strategic with our approach to this. And that's why we're trying to spend this much time on it. When you have a strategy that's effective, you feel totally different about your approach. If I'm just flailing around, thinking about calories, eating whenever I want, not eating, taking large chunks of time and not eating, like people think they're intermittent fasting when they're really just starving themselves. And so it's a lie that you're telling yourself to come to this deficit. And so when you make this lasting change and you build these structures in place, you will physically feel better. You'll actually have good data about how your body reacts to food. So to Neal's point, if you eat a muffin in the morning and then you don't eat again till 3 in the afternoon, your body doesn't have the energy it needs to get there. And so you've set yourself up for defeat, and you don't even realize it because you think I'm under my calories. I didn't have as many calories as I was supposed to have today. Yeah, but you didn't meet any of your nutritional needs, and you're exhausted and you're wiped by 3 o'clock because you're chugging coffee and water and you're peeing all day. Like it doesn't work.
Right. Your coworkers don't hate you because they're against you. They hate you because you're peeing all day.
Yeah, you're annoying.
Instead of
like pee.
Cigarette breaks, you're taking pee breaks. What kind of man are you? You had a question, Dana?
I did, and actually, Mark, you just kind of brought it up. I was going to ask you your feelings on intermittent fasting, and do you think it is a better idea just to tell people to set a bedtime and stop eating 2 to 3 hours before then?
Can I take this question?
Got it.
Because on my social media feed, this question came up when I was asking about questions related to nutrition.
We have some user questions, some reader questions.
This is great. So the question was, is there a certain time of night that I should stop eating? And one of the components to intermittent fasting is a long period of fasting. And I first want to preface the point of this podcast isn't really to beat any specific strategy up. There are people that are like, CrossFit sucks.
Right.
And
there's people who'll die on the CrossFit cross. Right. Legit.
And I'm
it's all fine.
I'm happy if you can not hurt yourself and lose weight and be fit and engage with the world. So if intermittent fasting, which, you know, from a registered dietitian standpoint, if somebody was managing somebody's foods based on the data, it works. Some people require something dramatic to help them lose weight. I'm completely for it. My personal feeling, based on what I know, I guess, about blood glucose management, which is a bigger kind of fish to fry for me, is that we want to maintain our metabolic rate and maintain our energy levels as best as possible, and maintain our blood sugar levels as best as possible. And you do that by small, well-balanced meals timed throughout the day.
Absolutely. And that's been the approach I've used effectively to lose 200 plus pounds, along with my surgery, obviously. Yeah. But people have had my surgery and gained weight back. And so
I know a couple.
And so it's a real thing. And so if you do not change your habits, you do not get the results. And so the smaller meals, and that's been what I've had to learn, how to eat small meals and then stop in between and then eat another meal and stop in between. That's what works for my body. I'm not telling anybody what to do for their body. I'm telling you, this is what I've had to do through trial and error. If you're not comfortable taking these, you know, like you're ready to jump off a mountain for losing weight. You're ready to take, if I said to you, eat 1,000 calories, you would do it. What I'm asking you to do is to eat more throughout the day, spread out in smaller chunks. What people want to do is eat giant meals. What people want to do is eat like American-sized meals all day long and think that that's going to work. And that's not going to work.
You think focusing on calories, I think what you're trying to say is like you're losing the forest for the trees.
Totally.
And, you know, when I make that change for people in those early conversations, or balancing your meals, you know, we have a great article, Eat to Fuel Your Fire, that should also be linked for this conversation.
And I love that. I read that, and it's exactly what I do.
Right. So it's proteins, fats, and complex carbohydrates every time you eat small, frequent meals throughout the day. That maintains energy levels, right? And he's saying it fast, but it's so important. We're gonna have a whole
show on it. So just know that we're gonna spend a lot of time on that. But it's a fundamental part of how I function, and so it's so important to me to kind of get clear about what those things are. And we will.
Right. So I guess the long story short here is that, like, when I have a nutrition consult and we're working through this, and I tell them, eat your current diet, we're just going to switch the types of foods to make them less simple sugars, more complex sugars. We're going to add protein. We're going to make sure that you have your fat. In doing so, they look at it and they go, oh, that's more food. But then what ends up happening naturally is that they're hungry less because they're eating higher quality foods. And then they end up being able to pare down their calories very quickly. And within just a few days, their calorie loads for the day naturally kind of level off. But then we're also building that habit, that thinking, understanding our relationship to food. As we've mentioned, we don't know what makes a food healthy. We don't know what makes a meal healthier. How do you have a healthy day? But instead we focus on these secondary measures like calories, and any focus of calories is robbing you of the lasting change.
It's short-sighted, and it's like looking, you know, it's like looking at the final score of a ball game and trying to decide what happened in between, right? So I look at the final score of the Mets game and it's 5-3. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything.
The three, right?
It doesn't tell me who hit those balls in, who was on base, how did the pitcher do on the other side of the equation. Like it's a weak analogy, I know, but it's not a complete picture of your nutrition. It's not a complete picture of what happened in your day. If you say to me, I ate 2,000 calories in a day, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means.
So clearly, we're only like 2/3 into the way of the podcast. Clearly, we have an angle. It's revealed itself. Let's talk about the last point here, which is we suck at math.
We can't add.
We suck at math. And so part of this is how we overestimate how much we're burning. We underestimate how much we're taking in. And then as a psychological reward to ourselves, we incorporate cheat days, which completely screw all of the work that we've done. So let's go through each one of those, right? Starting with how we underestimate our intake. So when we say that a 4-ounce piece of chicken is 120 calories, do you think that that's exact? It's not. And
you've never eaten 4 ounces of chicken a day in your life. Not one person who's listening to this has weighed out their chicken to the level. Now, I know one guy, there's a doctor that I work with who he weighs he literally brings a scale to food. Yeah. People bring scales to restaurants. It's a thing.
Yeah.
That's insane. And I don't want to live like that is the other piece. I don't want to give you advice that leads you to a path where you live like that.
Right.
Because that's restricting too. Like I can't live on either one of those spectrums. I can't live on the eat whatever I want spectrum, and I cannot live successfully or happily on the weigh everything for the rest of my life perspective.
Right.
We have to get in between there somewhere. That's the happy medium, and that's what we're shooting for here. Right. Not extreme on any level, because extreme doesn't last. That's what we're trying to say here.
Yeah.
If we haven't been clear, like you can do these extreme, you can cheat day, and you can do all these things, but they're not going to be what keeps you on the path.
Very important thing that you just kind of brought up. Thinking about calories to this level is an extremist thought. Because of these things, because we're underestimating how much we're actually eating because it's all an estimate already.
It's a guess.
Right. And then, we have people that go to the gym. And so I ran a mile today just to get back into it. Right. Mm-hmm. So did I burn 125 calories? And then does that mean that I can eat an extra 125 calories?
That math for me is infuriating. So, so one of the things I did DDP yoga, it's part of my journey. We'll talk about that as we move forward. They have an app, and part of the app is they register the calories that you burned, which if you don't even wear a heart rate monitor, it'll give you a number because you're burning calories just sitting here breathing air right now. Everybody's burning calories. You burn calories just running your body.
Yeah.
We overestimate what that means. So people they go, I burned 650 calories. That's amazing. And they're like, I'm going to go eat cheesecake. No, like that's not why you burned 650 calories. And you didn't burn 650 calories. Like you burned the 400 you were going to burn and maybe an additional hundo.
Yeah.
But you didn't burn 600 that you weren't going to burn otherwise. Like that math doesn't make sense. People are like, well, I burned 600 calories. No, you didn't. You burned the 400 you were going to burn by breathing.
Right.
And the 200 by the exercise.
Right.
And you're taking that math and you're saying, now let me go buy a large pizza. That cannot be your approach. Right. It will not work. It just won't.
It's a fixation on calories instead of long-term change and nutrition. And that should be the one pearl of wisdom that everybody takes from this based on these things that we're saying. So now let's talk about cheat days because this is my favorite concept. And then as like a counterpoint to that, I do want to drop in a realistic caloric schedule based on like my experiences. So cheat days, right? So we have this concept of a cheat day. I earned
it.
You know, I've worked really hard. And again, that speaks to a different problem.
It's a habit problem.
It's not a weight management problem. It is how I view food and how you view the work that you're doing. Part of the reason that I've been keeping my weight off here is because it takes so much effort
a lot of work
to lose weight. I'm on the treadmill dragging my butt through it, right? Like telling myself, keep running. And like, you know what it is to exercise. You're like, my personal trainer's like, all right, you know, he's counting it off. And I'm saying to myself, just one more. And just like the psychological torture it takes sometimes to lose weight. And then I'm going to go blow it. Right. And so,
and you worked on your hair. So you got your hair to the point where you want it to be. Your body's got to stay with that. And I would say that you're wasting your time running if you're not doing body weight stuff, because I'm a big body weight guy. I'm a big flexibility guy. I'm a big yoga guy. So the benefits you can get from yoga, I'm just going to say, are going to be better.
I really can't wait. I know this is like episode 3 or something.
We got
like
that,
50
right? of these coming.
And like, we're just so excited. We're just like, I can't wait to talk about that.
Because we're going to kill you with it. This calorie thing we've been murdering you with. But this is important stuff. This is where people make mistakes. And the reason we're taking the time to talk to you about this is because you will make these mistakes. We've made them. I've made them. And so I don't want to see somebody get fixated on calories when they're not getting nutrition.
Right. So you've worked hard all week, really hard. You've had a 500 calorie deficit, which if anybody's actually done that, realizes that sucks. It hurts. It takes a lot of effort to cut back 500 calories and actually do it, right? You're not eating junk food. You're not eating simple carbs. You're probably skipping booze. You're really working. And then you're like, okay, it's my cheat day. It's on Sunday and I'm going to have 4 pieces of pizza. And I've just had 7,000 calories. And that deficit of, let's say 3,500 is obliterated. And now you're not less calories. You are now over calories for the week. And at best, a cheat day will result in you just maintaining your weight for another week. You want to keep going. And so, The Rock has a cheat day because that dude is insanely disciplined and he's burning 1 billion calories. And his cheat day is like once a month. And like,
he does it on Sundays. It's his whole thing. And I follow him because people make the mistake that they think they can work out like The Rock, which they don't. Then they can eat like The Rock, which they can't. So you can't work out on his level. He's up at 12:30 in the morning. People get on me for 5 o'clock in the morning being up doing yoga. He's up at 12:30 in the morning in the Iron Paradise.
Does he go to bed?
He doesn't go to bed. He's just up running around, lifting, throwing weights around. He burns tens of thousands of calories. So for him to eat a couple of pieces of French toast that are thick and look delicious to you, he can do that. You can't. And they actually asked him what would happen if you ate this and you didn't work out. And he famously said, you get fat. And it was hilarious. And the person who interviewed him laughed at it. But it's true. You can't use that as the model because you are not, to Neal's point about underestimating and overestimating, you are not burning enough calories ever to be able to have that cheat day. The other piece of that cheat day that I hate is you've gotten your body to a place where it's gotten used to your eating. So you're eating at regular intervals. You're giving your body the nutrition it needs. Then you're like, let me drop this nuclear bomb and drop this pepperoni pizza on this bad boy with a side of ice cream.
Right.
Now your body's like, dude, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but I'm not going to work with this. And if anything, I'm going to store everything you just gave me as fat because I'm worried that I'm going to lose. You're not going to come back to me with this stuff. So I'm going to start storing it. And your body's shot. You've not just from a calorie standpoint, but from a nutrition standpoint, from a bodily standpoint, you've thrown everything you've done out of the window. And so I hate cheat meals, as you can hear.
Yeah. The three bears, it brings up another good point. This is a part of the conversation. We just talked about starving, right? So intermittent fasting, well, your body does not rev up the metabolism so you can burn more efficiently when you have starvation, or fasting, I should say, is probably a better way to say it. It actually slows the metabolic rate. So when you're in a fasting state, your metabolic rate will fall. Now, there are some, the nerds will get in and start arguing about how, well, technically it revs it up at the beginning when and listen, like, again, big picture stuff is what I'm talking about. Yeah. Realistic weight change for the rest of us. That's what we're here for. It really doesn't do that. And what does do that is small, frequent meals and exercise. Those are the things that will rev up your metabolic rate and keep it moving. Then on the other side, you dump all this food in. Three bears. It thinks that it's winter. It's time to hibernate. Yeah. I got to put it in my belly and kind of keep it there because clearly, I'm gonna have to hibernate for the winter, and that's what this meal is. You can't really override 300,000 years of genetic evolution, right?
Can't do it.
So I think that's important. So now, to the point that I understand the need for a cheat day, and not necessarily a cheat day, but my schedule is that Monday through Friday afternoon, I'm super disciplined because I'm not anywhere near anybody. It's just me. I'm flying solo. I get up, I have my breakfast, which is 2 eggs and a vegetable. And then I have my snack, and then I have my salad, and then I have my snack, and then I eat a very balanced dinner. No booze, nothing, right? But as soon as Friday night hits, as soon as Saturday hits, my friends want to hang out, right? And like, we want to do stuff. And so there are actual calorie schedules at this calorie.net that I was, calculator.net that I was referencing before that takes that into consideration. So instead of doing 500 every day, you do like a 750 or 1,000 deficit every day. And then on Friday or whatever your day is, then you can just bump it up by an extra like 250 or 500. You're still under for the week. So instead of having a cheat day where you're having a pepperoni pizza, you can maybe have a drink, or maybe you can have an extra serving of whatever, or maybe you can have your dessert then. And that's still within reason, and that's still something that's achievable. So,
but let's not call it a cheat day, right? So so what you just described was a mathematical equation based on a plan in the future that's going to be part of your scheduled eating. So, and again, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. So don't twist my words or make it sound like I hate everybody who's fat. I don't. I get this personally because I've had to do this work. What I will say is the mental game in here with this is so important. And so if you're just changing that mindset from cheat day to I've calculated out how I'm going to eat on Friday and Saturday, you've already moved to a different place with this discussion. Right. You've already moved to a habit-changing part of the discussion. If you're still looking at it as I have to do these things during the week so that I can build in my cheat days, and I'm going to do it every single week, and I'm going to sit around waiting for that moment to have that cheat day, that's like alcoholic thinking, right? Yeah. And so that
addictive mentality,
it's just addictive. And it's like, if I'm sitting around waiting to get high, that's not going to work. And so if you're sitting around waiting to eat pepperoni pizza and you're literally shaking because you've been at a deficit all week and now finally you get to eat, that change behavior is not where you want it to be. And you're not going to feel good about it because it's not going to last.
For real. I 100% with you, Mark. I think that we've done a good job. We've had this conversation now. We've beat it up a little bit.
We hit it.
I think that, reviewing what we're talking about, calories should not be a part of early conversations around nutrition if your goal is change. If you need to lose weight because you have to fit into a dress in 3 weeks, that's a different story, but that's not what we're here to help you with, right? The second part, calories are the answer for weight management. You will have to run a deficit in order to lose weight. You will need to have extra calories in order to gain weight. Your energy, your memory and stuff are reliant upon how you're feeding your body with calories, but calories aren't nutrition. Those are two separate things. And finally, like we we have to understand that all of this is an estimation. These calorie obsession can get in the way of actual change, especially because the numbers start out being fuzzy. So when we cling to them as part of our one and only focus, we're doing ourselves a disservice because one, the number of calories that you need is probably wrong. The number of calories you're burning is probably wrong. And the number of calories that you're eating is probably wrong. So it's all fuzzy. So we just have to kind of set that course and, put in a great nutrition plan and then, eventually have the conversation around calories, but understand that the numbers are doing a disservice, and focusing on calories is not the way that we need to go.
And if you follow Neal's the Fuel the Fire article that he shared, feed the fool the fire, fools that feed the fire, feed the fool fires. Read that article because it describes very specifically how I eat and how we're going to recommend for you to eat. So please give that a read if you haven't yet. Yeah.
So the 2 articles that you should check out when it comes to there's actually 3 that kind of make the Tri-Force of my nutritional baseline information. Okay. So Eat to Fuel Your Fire, Calories In, Calories Out, which talks about Oreos. And the last one, Dietary Jenga, which I believe is the most important one. It kind of speaks to, I guess, how the media portrays nutrition and how it's misleading us. And I think that's really the one that we want to look for. Anything else, Mark? Anything that we've missed?
The other thing to keep in mind here is it's important for, and we've talked about kind of big pharma and the big corporations. And so just to get my Bernie Sanders hat on for half a second.
Okay.
It benefits the companies that feed you to keep you on this hamster wheel. If you look at calories, you're not looking at sugar. If you look at calories, you're not looking at carbs. If you're looking at calories, you're not looking at fats. If you're looking at calories, you're not looking at all those other pieces. And we're going to talk nutrition later on, but to say these calories aren't equal. And so for you to eat corn pops at every meal, you could have 600 calories in a day. You will gain weight. You are not going to survive on that. And so we have to get clear, like you said it very clearly. Calories are not nutrition. So don't use calories as your end-all be-all. That's our takeaway message here. And if you do, you're going to find yourself really upset and angry and probably pissed. And don't write us letters because listen, we told you not to do it. So don't get mad at us, especially if you're a VIP and you're watching our stuff on the Upside Down. Don't blame us. Okay, we tried.
I think that summarizes it great. Thank you so much for listening this week. Again, wellnessupsidedown.com for all things podcast or to get in touch with us. Please subscribe and share. For Mark DeCicco, I'm Dr. Neal Smoller, holistic pharmacist. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.